Let's talk about pottery. Let's talk about pottery. Let's talk about.
Hello, it's time once again to talk about pottery, and I have just opened the kiln. It's still pretty hot, and I don't really like what I'm seeing in here today, but we'll see what it looks like when we get down there. Okay, right on top here we have the chocolate brown clay, I believe it's called. It's a standard ceramic clay. It may just be called dark brown. I kind of call it black clay sometimes. It has goldenrod chino over it, and this is a tile where I wipe away, the very top peaks of the design, just so it comes out a little bit more. I really like the way it looks. I really like the goldenrod chino on this clay, and this clay is pretty strong. It holds up very well. It's a cone 6, and this was a cone 5, and I just find that it really looks good in my firing, so it's definitely something I want to keep around. It is more expensive than most of the clays, but I think it's worth it, and it gives more of a rustic look too. So that one is a keeper, and that goldenrod chino is by Coyote. And these shelves are going to be pretty hot here, so. Okay, now, this piece here is probably stuck. Let's see. This is actually going to be the top to that. It's just a kind of a fun piece. It's very hot, so let's see if I can handle this. That's not too bad. So I just did a bowl with 3 feet on it, and this is Mako's Stroke and Coat Blue Isle. You can see I'm probably just about to lose one of the legs there because it had actually come off. But this is just a kind of a fun piece I wanted to try to make. And what this is actually a flower arrangement piece. This will be for putting plumeria flowers in. I'll try to get a picture of that. Now the top of it was done in Laguna's Colonial White. All of a sudden I'm having trouble with this glaze. I'm getting some crawling. I'm sure the camera won't pick it up because it's white clay and white glaze, so it's probably not going to be that visible, but it just seems to crawl sometimes. I'm not really sure why, but I'm probably not going to continue to use it. But it is a nice glossy white if you can get it to work. So this piece is a total disaster. When I opened the kiln, I knew it was a goner. So I lost the integrity of the clay because it's so thin. The glaze is a disaster. It pretty much is just an all-around piece of junk. I'll need to do feet that go across these platters. I mean, really, the dip in it isn't that bad. It could be something you can take advantage of if you wanted that look. I noticed a little bit of bloating right there, too. The camera can pick that up. So I wanted to talk about what happened with the glaze here. So this is that same Blue Isle Stroke and Coat again, but I did this portion of it here over Colonial White, and that is a pretty extreme amount of crawling. And it's funny because on the test piece, I did a test tile, I got the same result, but I thought it was because it was so thick. I have done this before where you get a little bit of a texture. So I don't know what happened with this. Maybe it just got too hot because it was so thin, and that bloating may be an indication of that. but that's a piece of junk pretty much. Okay, next level. We have some better looking pieces here, and they are not stuck to the kiln, which is a plus. So this was a glaze test that I did in the last kiln opening, and it looks exactly like it did on the test tile. So that's a good thing. So what this is, it is, if I can remember, so it's antique copper by Spectrum underneath, and then it has opal by Coyote over the top, and it looks totally different than either one of those glazes, although I do see a little bit of the indication of the antique copper. You can kind of see a darkness on the inside. Really nice glaze combination. Looks like it moves around a bit, and this is a little olive boat here. So that's definitely a keeper for that combination. Does look a little bit like textured kiwi, but has a little bit more movement to it. So here's another olive boat. This is just done in that same glaze combination of goldenrod chino over the black clay. It gives it like a wood-fired look, which, you know, is pretty desirable, I guess you could say. So I like it a lot, and it comes out kind of matte. A little bit of a satiny, but matte overall. So I would say I will keep that dark clay around to use. This small dish here is pistachio chino by Coyote over black clay. Has a very mottled type of look to it. And this is another tile that we saw already. It's a little bit darker. Here is a pendant done in the black clay, hummingbird pendant. I'm trying to do some pendants now that are not glazed on the back. So instead of having to hang them on that jewelry, the jewelry thing that you fire with, it's sort of unpredictable. So this is a little bit easier, especially in that they will come out flat because they're lying flat on the shelf. So I don't know if I'm going to try to seal this with something else on the back or just leave it that way. I mean, it's smooth enough, but it's really not that same feel like you have when it has a glaze on it. So there should be a few more as we go down to the next levels too, but I'm not really sure if this is the way to do it or not, but it's something to try. Okay, hopefully we can see pretty well down in here. This is the black clay again. This has Coyote's opal over it. I've only found a few glazes that really work that well on this clay. Usually it'll be the lighter colors, of course, that show up. So opal by Coyote has been pretty versatile so far, and I think that shows up really well. Has a lot of nice texture to it. So this is Coyote's cedar chino. It's pretty dark. Usually will come out lighter than that. I don't know if it's because it's hot, maybe a little too hot, going down into the kiln here. We'll see, because there's some witness cones at the bottom. This still might be okay for me, even though it is that dark. It's kind of a nice look, but probably a little bit lighter, hopefully next time. I could try reglazing that one. There's a bunch of pendants here. I won't spend too much time on them, but not glazed on the back. And this is Little Loafer's white clay. It doesn't have a very smooth feeling when it's raw like that. So this is glazed on the front as underglaze, and then a clear coat of zinc-free clear by Amico over the top of it, and that works really well with those colors. I have a few of those in here. And I don't know how well that worked out. It's supposed to be a mermaid pendant. I'll have to try something else with that. It looks okay, but it's not that great. Okay, this tile, this has Coyote's Crazed Copper on black clay, and I think this is a really nice look for this clay. It has, this glaze is a little bit translucent, so sometimes it does look a little streaky on the dark clay, but I still kind of like it, and I use Crazed Copper quite a bit anyway, so it's nice to be able to use it on every type of clay. And there's a few more tiles done in opal, which is that same opal on dark clay. Just a bunch of small things here, pendants. These will be magnets for tomorrow. I have a market tomorrow, so I have to glue magnets on these for tomorrow. This is just a little flip-flop pendant, not glazed on the back. A few little pendants, just a little crab, and some more oceany things here. A little seahorse one. A few more magnets, just done in underglaze and then a clear coat over the top of that. Okay, last level of the kiln. I've been looking forward to this piece. Came out really well. Let's see. This is again Pistachio Chino by Coyote over the dark brown clay. I think that it probably warped a little bit. The shape doesn't look exactly the same as it did. Has a little bit, you can kind of see around here, a little bit of warping there around this area. But overall it didn't slump too much. I can kind of see where it dropped down a little bit in the firing. But it worked a lot better than the other clays have as far as these textured platters go. This piece was actually a reglaze, and it has the exact same problem it did when it went in. There may be a little bit of glaze over it if the camera can pick it up. There's like a pinhole that had developed. In the first firing, and I tried to put glaze over it for this one, and I kind of did a little bit of more glazing to kind of get rid of the spotty look that it had. But it pretty much still has that same hole in it, so I don't know. It's like sometimes things are there that just always want to be there, and I don't think I'm going to bother trying to glaze that again. This is a small textured dish that is done in opal over dark clay. So that shows up the detail really well, that glaze opal. A few more magnets here. This one is done on white clay, Little Loafer's white clay. So this looks really good because what this is kind of a test, but it's black underglaze was put on first as sort of a wash, and then Crazed Copper by Coyote over the top of that. I don't know how well the camera's going to pick it up, but I'll try to get pictures. And that really does bring out the detail. I didn't know how much of it would stay, if it would float very much. I did some testing and it did work in the testing, but you never really know. So a piece without that on it, you can tell the difference. I mean, it still looks good, but bringing out the texture and the detail with the underglaze really made a huge difference there. So that's something I want to do in the future with this crazed copper. Okay, there's not much left here at the bottom, just a bunch of small pendants, some more magnets, a bunch of magnets, little lobster pendant, starfish, shells, Florida type stuff. There's another one, pretty much the last one. And I just want to take a quick look at the witness cones. It's hard to tell, but looks like it was probably just a regular cone 5 at the bottom. So over and all, a good glaze firing. Okay, that's about it for this time. Just wanted to do a quick kiln opening. So hopefully some more interesting things in the next one. I will talk to you then. Thank you for watching.
Let's talk about pottery. Let's talk about pottery.